Greetings friends, here I am again making another video about languages. I feel like lately there's been a lot of activity as far as the language learning people on YouTube. I mean, we've basically got Steve Kaufman and Luca making these great interviews where they basically agree with each other about how they learn languages. You got Richard Simcott, he did an interview with Fasulye, he also was working on his Turkish. You got Susanna Zaraisky, did an interview with Fasulye and with Jana, okay, Japanese girl. You got Benny the Irish Polyglot, he's in the middle of trying to learn Chinese in 3 months. You've got Moses McCormick, basically he's learning Cantonese, he's learning Czech right now. You know, you've got a lot of activity, alright. Also, I've been noticing there's a lot of newcomers as well that I've seen. A couple guys I subscribe to, and also this new guy named Tim, who's basically one of he got superhuman abilities in learning languages. Okay, the New York Times did an article about this guy. Put up a video. He's got speaking Hindi. He learned Ojibwe, Indonesian. You know, I'll put a link to the New York Times article. So I just feel like there's been a lot of activity going on, and language learning people, and I kind of wanted to get in. On the action. All right. So this video is going to be about vocabulary. Okay. Now, basically, when I start learning a language, I don't really focus on vocabulary a whole lot. Okay. The first things I focus on are basically what some people would call grammar. All right. How do nouns operate in the language? How do you make plurals? Right. Is there case? Is it word order? How do verbs work? Is there tenses? If there is, how do you do them? Aspects, stuff like that. Just the basic way the language operates. Like example sentences, stuff like that. And basically the grammar. I also focus on, to have a linguistics background, I focus on the phonetics. Right. I basically go to Wikipedia or wherever, look up all you guys have been to Wikipedia when you're looking at a language, right? And that table, and it has all those funny symbols in it, okay? That's the IPA, and it basically is a breakdown of the sounds of the language. I find that incredibly helpful, right? Some people don't. Some people are like, whatever, I don't know how to read it, I think it's stupid, I don't understand. I don't think that at all. I think it's incredibly helpful because I can look at the sounds of the language and think, okay, my language has these sounds, I'm familiar with these sounds, here's some sounds I don't know. I'll have to learn them, right? So I do that in the beginning. But in the beginning, I don't really focus on vocabulary, okay? It's basically grammar, pronunciation, and maybe a little bit of vocab. Okay, and now when I get to the more advanced stages, like when I'm done with the beginning stuff, right, and it could take a few months, maybe it might take a few years, depending on the complexity of the language compared to my own, and like how hard I work, you know what I mean? So maybe a few months, maybe a few years, whatever. But after that, you get to a point where you're familiar with all the patterns of the language, right? Like, you're familiar how the language operates. You're familiar with the pronunciation. The only thing that really holding you back from getting a more advanced level is your vocabulary, okay? So, if you really want to learn a language, you have to learn a lot of words. And I usually get to the point where I do all the work at first, right? Like I said, pronunciation, grammar, and then there's a point where you know everything, but you just need to learn more and more and more and more words. I do that at a later stage. Some people do it at an earlier stage. It doesn't really matter. But you have to have a system for learning new vocab, okay? And here's a couple ways you can go about it, alright? You can get a textbook, right? And you can get a list of vocabulary words, okay? Maybe the topic is family. Here's all your words for family. Maybe your topic is sports. Here's a bunch of words for sports. Now, the good thing about that is you see words with a related topic, right? It's like family. Okay, I'm thinking about family. Here's all the words I need. The bad thing about that is you don't really get good context, right? You don't really see how the words are used in context. It's just a list, and you learn them, but you don't see how they're used. So I've been learning a lot of Russian lately, and that's what I've been focusing on, like at the more advanced levels, Russian. And I've just been spending a lot of time learning vocabulary words, okay? And so the way I do it is learning words from context, okay? Now you can do it by reading or you can do it by listening. Okay, I haven't really been focused on the reading so much. I've been focusing on the listening, and I'll get on YouTube and I'll basically find Russian videos, right, of people talking, like video blogs of people talking about whatever. Lately I've found a lot of women talking about applying makeup and all the creams and stuff they use. So I've been learning great words like moisturize, pores, skin, apply. And I'll listen to it. When I don't know a word, I'll pause it, right? And I'll look up the word and I'll write it down. And I don't force myself to remember it. I'll just be like, okay, here's this word, I heard it, here's what it means, I write it down. So right away, look what you're doing. You're hearing the word used in context, okay? I'll write it down, look it up in the dictionary, so I'm seeing the spelling, and then, you write it down. And you have it in context, right? You got all those things. You hear it, you see it, and you're in context, and you write it. And it's basically all that stuff, and so you're really activating a lot of your, like, how to learn the word. And then I just forget it. A couple seconds later I'll pretty much forget it, right? But then I'll push play again on the video, and then that word will pop up again, right? Because it'll be like they're talking about moisturizing their face with some cream or something in Russian, okay? And just be like, so we'll hear it first time, it'll be используюсь крема, right? And be like, okay, write that down, forget it. Then I push play 30 seconds later, используюсь крема. I'll be like, oh, I just heard that, what's it mean? I'll look at it again, and I'll start remembering it, and I won't even be trying, you know what I mean? Because I hear it so many times, and I have it in context, right? So it's not just, использовать, right? There's the word. You look at it in like a dictionary, it's like, использовать, to use, to utilize. This abstract meaning that you really can't relate to anything. You have to make up some story. But when I learn it in context like this, I learn the word использовать as far as applying something, and it's cream to your face, right? So it's really concrete meaning, and it just makes it easier to understand. So that's what I've been doing with Russian lately. It's just been listening to videos, and you can podcast work as well. You know a word, pause it, look it up. You can either know spelling, right, or have an idea, and then boom, there you go. Okay, and that's just like, I really like doing it. I mean, I can just do it for hours, and sometimes I do. Okay, so that's one thing I'm talking about. Okay, vocabulary and context. Also, there's a lot of other things about connotation of a word. Okay, so here's a little bit of a X-rated example for you. Okay, because it's just a great example. All right. Okay, number one. This is a little bit X-rated, okay, but I'm just going to say it anyway, alright? So number one, sexual intercourse, sexual relations, sex, do it, hump, screw, get dirty, fuck, okay? All those words have the same meaning, okay? Here's another one. And X-rated examples are just, they're more natural because people have a tendency to not speak about them, okay? So how about this? Homosexual, gay, queer, homo, fag, alright? All the same basically it's the same meaning, but with different levels of connotation and formality, okay? So when you learn a word, some words have a negative connotation, some words have a positive connotation. Example from Russian. Что произошло? Okay? What happened? Neutral. Что произошло? Произошло. Okay? What happened? In the past, neutral connotation. You could say что случилось. It means what happened, but usually something bad, okay? And to find the connotation of a word is usually hard from a dictionary, okay? You have to get it from context, and that's why I'm such a big fan of learning vocabulary from context, whether it be reading, which I really haven't focused on, or listening, which I do focus on a lot, okay? And, okay, I'm almost done. So we've talked about how I learn a language, start out with the grammar, pronunciation, basic sentence patterns, move on to a more advanced level, you need to just look up vocabulary. Some people do that, some people switch the order, it doesn't matter. I also talked about connotation a little bit, okay? I'm learning vocab from context. The last thing I want to talk about is listening, okay? Because when you learn a language, there's 4 different areas you can focus on, right? For basically most language people learn, okay? Listening, speaking, reading, and writing, okay? Writing, whatever. Just learn how to write the alphabet. Could be hard, whatever. I'm not concerned about writing too much. Reading, okay, that's good. Speaking, yeah, that's great too. But listening, I think, is probably one of the most challenging, because when you listen to material created by native speakers for native speakers, they're basically utilizing their entire vocabulary and everything they know about the language. So there's an incredibly large amount of words that are going to be used for talking when people talk, and to listen to comprehend that, you need to have a huge vocabulary, and that's where the real challenge of learning the language is. And so yes, I mean, many people are out there that can speak many languages. That's great, okay, that's fabulous. But the thing is, I mean, let's say you know 200 words in a language and you can speak those 200 words to get your point across. That's fabulous, okay, However, you take that same person and you have to listen to like a news show or a podcast or a movie, might not understand anything. You know what I mean? So speaking is great, but I think listening is even more challenging, and that's pretty much what I think. Okay, that's it for now. Okay, learning languages, great.